I'm someone who has been journaling for over 16 years now, and I have no plans to stop. And in that time, I have found a couple different techniques that I come back to over and over. There are some that I've stuck with for years, some that I have only stuck with for days. And I'm somebody who is very open to trying all of the techniques and anything that I kind of hear about, just because I think it's fun and I like to experiment. Sometimes I transform those practices into my own. That is one of the funnest parts of journaling, is it just experimenting and stumbling upon something that you feel like you can keep for life and that you're actually excited to come back to. And so the first journaling technique I want to share with you is called the morning pages. This is by Julia Cameron, who is the author of The Artist's Way. And it's something that appealed to me because I always enjoyed free writing. Being able to write what I was thinking and getting it onto the page kind of made me feel like I was improving my improv skills, my ability to kind of think quicker. And so this was just a more formal exercise or way for me to do it, where you go for 3 pages. It's kind of like clearing out the gunk of your creative engines first thing in the morning. And it became a habit that I just looked forward to every day. And often you're going to find yourself saying some of the same things, and that's okay. The whole point is to keep going and to really just pay attention to what your mind is saying and try to minimize that gap between thinking and writing it down. Now, the one thing, if you follow the morning pages technique strictly, is that you can't read it for 5 years. So you're not supposed to go back to it for 5 years. And I typically had not when I was doing that. But I will say one of the things that I missed out on the most was just this feeling of coming back to that process more often. I wanted to write more often the way that I did with my morning pages, because you're writing for like 15, 20 minutes unbroken. And it feels unbelievable when you can stick to something like that for that period of time. So it's a very low cost, free, and high ROI way of, I think, just adding that into a daily practice. But then this leads me to the second journaling technique that really excited me, which is the bullet journal method by Ryder Carroll. The reason that this really appealed to me is because instead of just this chunk that you might do in one sitting, it's this process of coming back to it throughout the day, coming back and logging bullets. And if you have an ADHD styled brain, you are going to resonate with that as well. I'm kind of the reverse, where I keep it simple. It's bullets, or it's like a to-do list box or something like that, and sometimes arrows. But I always write the bullet or the check box after I have logged the note, because I often found that trying to kind of categorize it first would make me lose the thought, which defeats the purpose of journaling and note-taking a lot of times in the first place. The other thing that I love about bullet journaling is that it gives you a place to kind of free up your working memory. So as you can see, this is a small pocket notebook. I have larger ones that I've used over the years, a whole shelf full of them. But I will say that I enjoy being able to keep this slim thing on me and just come back to it and use it as a workspace for thinking, because that's one of the benefits of using a notebook for journaling, is that you are using a single purpose tool. It is not a multi-purpose tool like your phone where you can just do anything you want. And that constraint actually helps a ton, right? It allows your brain to sit with the discomfort, that reach, that struggle, that allows your skill to get stronger. It allows you to get those reps in. The other thing I found really cool is that oftentimes I didn't need that 15-20 minute chunk to feel the satisfaction of like, oh, I got to write today, right? Or I got to capture something that I wanted to. It really is sometimes less than 30 seconds, less than 10 seconds, or a minute, and you kind of feel satisfied getting to have that space. Bullet journaling has helped me refine my capturing skills, which I have always done, but I use things like Apple Notes and stuff like that by default. But I have been doing that more and more now with a small notebook like this. Now, the third method I want to share with you is Dr. Andrew Huberman's 2-part journaling technique. Now, I have to admit, I didn't do this perfectly when I did it. I only did the first part for a large majority of it, but I have found that the second part that he talks about is as important as he says. It's not worth skipping over. And so basically the way that this works is you start by basically writing 5 gratitudes, so 5 things that you might be grateful for. Then you write a couple bullets about the plans for your day. So this is a favorite part of mine for journaling. I could write this stuff over and over, even if I have it logged in apps and things like that. I just enjoy writing the little checkbox and kind of thinking through what task I have to prioritize. And so this area can be fun for kind of getting that out of your working memory. What are the things that I need to prioritize today? The next part is a surprising one, but it can be useful, which is any fears or resentments. And so this is a great space for you to just kind of brain dump whatever comes to mind, if there is any. And then once you have that done, you move on to things to strive for. Now, the reason I love this one is because this is similar to the plans for the day, but you can actually narrow down on, I don't know, a bigger picture vision of what you're aiming to do that day, what you see the version of yourself right now aiming to do. Then that leads into things to watch out for. And so, of course, this is dictated by some of what you have written so far, based off of what you want to get done, what you hope to get out of yourself today. What are the things that you should watch out for? Some constraints or boundaries that you might be practicing. It's a great reminder for that. And of course, all of this leads into part 2. And basically what it is revisiting what you have written throughout the day. What that does is it kind of jars your memory. And when you are feeling that 3 p.m. slump, you are able to be like, oh, right, that's what I wanted to do. Before some of these automatic behaviors and thought patterns might, take over, you have a way to kind of, again, a single purpose tool, be able to open up to that page and be able to see something that you wrote not too long ago. One of the commonalities is that the second part that Dr. Andrew Huberman recommends, which is reviewing and reading and reflecting what you have written, it is also something that Ryder Carroll from the bullet journal method recommends as well, is making time and space to be able to, whether it is daily, weekly, or monthly, come back and read what you have written. And I think everybody's going to have a different process with this, but the way that I like to do it, it's kind of when I catalog things. So I will basically sometimes highlight or underline some of the ideas as I'm reading an older journal or previous entries. And then basically what I'll also do is move them into my notes app. So I like to capture ideas in my notebook related to projects. And so I might have an app or a note where I basically put 10, 15, all of the different ones that I've extracted from the notebook. And sometimes if I'm still feeling like just being in a writing mood, what I'll do is I'll extract stuff from the older journal and migrate it into a newer one. It might feel slow and like, why would you do that? Just faster to type it and put it in a Google Calendar or something. But the point behind all of this is you have spaced repetition and you have active recall. So you are basically able to use these two learning techniques to your advantage by taking a look at the same material at different intervals for different time periods, triggering different thoughts, sparking new ideas. And of course, one of the things I want you to keep in mind is don't feel like you have to lock into just one of these and you have to do it forever and you have to just stick with it every day. It's kind of like understand what each of them are going to help you achieve. And then based on what you need that day, that session, you are able to kind of deploy the method, the technique. One of the funnest parts is actually adapting these techniques to what you like. So you might like a certain part of the morning pages, but ignore some of the rules that make it not morning pages anymore, right? But make it more kind of something that, you do. Don't be afraid to do that once you've experimented with the technique. And of course, drop a comment. I would love to hear from you what techniques you like, what you use, what you've stuck to. I always find it interesting how other people use their notebooks and use their journals. Thanks so much for hanging out. Make sure to check out the links in the description below, and I will see you on the next one.